Okay, great.
And we're rolling.
Okay, great. Who's introing? I can't remember where we landed.
I'll do it.
Okay. Welcome to Raise. Coming up on this episode of Raise.
It felt quite natural because it was kind of like gradual. Like I said, I acquired teams. As you go from like you not doing anything to your whole team, which could be a huge amount of people not doing anything. Let go as well. Like that was a huge challenge and still is. Like biggest challenge. Getting rid of that ego is the biggest thing. I think that it helps with a load of stuff, but when it comes to the workplace, I think that getting feedback on your performance, your behaviours and your delivery, your team, whatever, I think like that is like the number one thing I wish I started doing sooner.
Welcome to Raise. This is an episode that we're really excited about doing. Yes. Raise is the podcast for fundraisers, by fundraisers. We are here to share insights. We are here to share inspiration and stories as we work on developing ourselves and all of the fundraisers around us. So we're so excited to be here tonight. I'm Christine Neubeiser.
And I'm Sian, and we are joined by Sarina, and we are going to be talking all things making the step from manager to leader, which I think is such an important topic, and I kind of really wish this podcast had been around when I was making that jump. Mm-hmm. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome to Raise, Sarina.
I'm so excited to have you, and I really feel like the most important thing is like you live 10 minutes down the road from me.
Yes, I do.
And we worked together at Sea Rider.
Yes, long time ago.
Such a long time. When was that? Like 20?
It was before I had a child. So
how old is this dress now?
He's 9, so
More
I
than
was
9
pregnant
years
at
ago.
the end, but you left before, so 10 years, 11 years,
Wow.
That feels like
lifetime ago.
And then we literally moved you'd already moved to Leighton Buzzard, and then I moved. I followed you.
Come move.
I honestly remember we were going to look around at houses and we were standing outside the estate agents, and I ran into you on the high street.
Oh, did you?
And
I don't
you,
remember that. I'm sure it was brilliant. Sure,
and one of us is memorable.
Are you considering moving here? And I hadn't seen you in 5
that's
plus
right.
years.
No, I do remember. Yes.
Outside Connell's.
Yes.
And now we live closely to each other, which is
brilliant.
really nice. So you're literally just down the road. Do you want to intro yourself to the podcast?
Yeah. So I'm Sarina Jesudason, currently head of operations at Wilkinson-Iles UK. So I manage. Take a deep breath. There's a few. I manage the HR teams, the CRM team, and the business intelligence function, IT, office facilities, and most recently supporter engagement. So it's a big, wide remit.
It's a huge job.
That's a big job.
It is. I keep acquiring teams. I'm like,
because you're amazing, just to be clear.
Everyone wants to be in my team.
So thank you so much for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.
I feel like I am the middle ground here.
So I'm
Raising
unable to reach,
money, voices, and glasses. But Sarina, we're going to talk to you about, as Sian said, taking that really important step from being a manager into being a leader. And actually, we can be leaders when we're managers or before that, but that sort of head of multiple teams, managers managing managers type of role. And that's a really tricky place to kind of to make that leap. Did you make that leap in the same organization where you were a manager, or was that at a different organization?
Yeah, so it would be in the same organisation. So I came in at Wilkinson-Iles UK as operations manager. So I managed the CRM team and then got promoted into the head of role two and a half years ago now. Wow. Yeah.
That's amazing. Can I dive in?
Yes, please dive in.
What was your biggest learning in that space? Because I remember making that jump and it was absolutely stinking terrifying, and I made that jump externally. So I kind of went from being line managing one person at Alzheimer's Society to line managing a team at Breast Cancer Now, and I still felt insecure, and I had jumped organisations. So how did you find that?
I think it felt quite natural because it was kind of gradual. Like I said, I acquired teams and I developed teams. And, like I said about the business intelligence function, used to be part of the CRM team. It's now a team of 2 people. So it kind of evolved. And I actually developed he was like the CRM officer when I joined. I developed him into the senior officer, and then now he's the manager of the team.
Amazing.
So it was all very strategic as well. Like, it was quite intentional to develop him, to do that succession planning. So I think I'd been at Crane-Iles UK for 2 years, and during that time I saw what was needed.
Yeah.
I think what resource was needed, and I'd already started thinking, okay, we need to work closer with, supporter engagement or IT facilities. So it felt, almost natural, and I was so well supported by my manager, who is just fantastic. So it felt like a really good natural step. Not to say I wasn't like nervous. I mean, part of me is like, oh, well, what am I doing here? And when I took on HR, Misha, I have no HR background, and our old chief exec would say, you don't need to know, you don't need to be a HR expert. You need to employ a HR expert. You don't need to be you don't need to be in the detail.
Yeah.
And that was like a real kind of like light bulb moment, and it opened up avenues for me, because I'm managed by the director of finance and corporate services. He's an accountant. He manages me and the finance team. And so I was always like, well, that's, me cut off. I'm not an accountant, don't want to be an accountant. Yeah. But then I was thinking, if I have a really good finance manager, a really good management accountant, maybe that is in my future if that's what I want.
No,
so
I love that.
Yeah, so I think, I certainly learned that, it's less about the getting your hands dirty and knowing, exactly how that thing works, but getting the right people.
So, I mean, I love that so much. And one of the things I'm wondering about just more broadly is, you said that it was really intentional to make that succession planning. Did you feel like when you were going for that role, that succession planning had been, like, you had been supported into doing that?
Yeah, I think definitely. Like I said, my manager's really supportive, and one of the things that we celebrate loads in our teams are the amounts of promotions and kind of moving across within the operations team, which is great. And so this young man, who was a CRM officer, he actually came from a teaching background,
right.
And actually loads of my CRM team have no CRM knowledge or data knowledge, because someone who used to work in HR. Our business intelligence officer, she worked in retail, and Andrew used to be a teacher, and he was just so like competent, bright, had exactly the right aptitudes and behaviours. And my manager said from almost day one, we got to keep him. And 4.5 years later, he's been through 2 jobs and he's still here. He's now managing a team of 4, and at one point it was literally just the 2 of us keeping the kind of CRM alive.
That's amazing.
But it brings its own challenges, because my background is fundraising, community fundraising, and then into databases, kind of in the fundraising world, but very much databases. So to let go as well, that was a huge challenge, and still is, biggest challenge. And Andrew will say this, he always gives me feedback. I always ask feedback, and it will be, sometimes I'm just like, I could jump in and do it in 10 minutes, but that's not what I should be doing.
Yes, and it's really, really hard, I think, when you make that leap, what you should be doing, like what your new role is, new responsibilities are, and then what you actually might feel more comfortable doing.
So you mentioned that you felt really supported in making that jump, like by your line manager. What did that look like for you? Like, why... Like, what was it that support felt
so he pushes
good?
me and challenges me and gives me feedback, and he's very honest. So, but he also is an accountant, so thinks of things in terms of pound signs, and it is so much more expensive to recruit someone to onboard them, and then they leave in, charity sector, I feel, has quite a high turnover, and our turnover is slightly higher than the sector average, which I think is already very high. It's like 18% or something. Financially, it just makes total sense.
And what were the big bits for you? So we've done we did an episode previously with Damien talking about kind of like effective people management strategy, which I think is so important and really builds into exactly what you were just saying now around it is cheaper to retain staff, right? Like, it is, and we're hemorrhaging staff across the charity sector at the moment, especially in fundraising.
Yeah, because so many people are just leaving the sector.
Or becoming consultants because they could get paid more.
Yeah, exactly.
And why not?
Completely.
We love consultants.
We love consultants. consultants are great.
Yeah, we love them.
But what were like the biggest challenges for you in that space? So you made that jump internally from manager to leader. What were kind of the things that were going through your mind that you felt cognizant of, or you were worried about, or you were like, no, I know I can go out and own this because I've got a cracking manager who's got my back?
So I guess the two things I already mentioned, one is stepping away from the day-to-day, trusting people, allowing them to fail. So we talk a fair bit about psychological safety in our team, in our directorate, and being allowed to fail and learning from it. So allowing my team to fail or not make the decision I would, and then, not go, I told you so. So that's been really important. But also discernment and discerning when, you do need to step in because you have, I've got 20 years experience or whatever in this area. And sometimes you do have to go, trust me on this one.
Yeah.
This is the right decision. And then...
Yeah, but that's such an important distinction, is like, when does your experience when does your experience need to be like, this is the voice of reason or direction or whatever, and when is it like, learn and explore and innovate,
and it's all about
come up
risk.
with your...
So it's just all about risk for me, and no one dies if we do our job wrong in my line. I'm not a surgeon, so majority of the time make a mistake is fine. It's then when it perhaps escalates, the team have made a mistake that's like a big incident, maybe a data protection incident, and then you're like, okay, that was fine the first time, but maybe that's not the solution. This is the solution, trust me on this one, because it's now become quite high risk.
Right.
And I was going to say, so you've had such an interesting career to kind of get to where you are now. So you were in community fundraising, and then you were database manager at Sue Ryder, and then you went on maternity leave to have Idris, gorgeous Idris, who I just made sandcastles.
You did. That was so sweet.
Yeah, I took
toddler.
a couple of months off between jobs, and I just we had like a really nice day. So just what you need to know
It
is
looks
that
like
the
something out
the
of
beach in Leighton Buzzard is a massive sandbox.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's literally just a big sandpit.
It's just a huge sandpit.
I guess it is Ben for sure. I didn't really.
Yeah,
I didn't
it
think
is
that, but
one of the most, if not the most landlocked counties.
Oh my god. The English are gonna hate me. The last couple of episodes, I slammed pronunciation, and now I'm just
And then you went. You're just going to keep us moving on. And then you went to go and work for Plug the Gap.
Yes, I was doing a bit of consulting before that, and then I worked for my friend Julie, who's a consultant, and she's one of the good ones.
She is a good one.
She's
I really
definitely
like
one of the
Julie.
good
She's great,
ones,
yeah.
and loved working for her. Needed the stability, so had a bit of a swap. So my husband was working for the company that he's literally always worked for. So he did his sandwich year when he was at uni with them, and then went up to associate director and director. But he was really unhappy, and it was like he had clients ringing him at 11 in the evening, swearing at him. He wanted to work from home. Irony. He wanted to work from home, and they said no, even though he's worked for them for 15 years. And then COVID happened, and everyone was working from home. Ridiculous. So he wanted to go freelance and set up his own. He wanted to set up his own business. So I jumped back in house to kind of support him do that, because he'd supported me to do my kind of consulting, which was essentially I only did the jobs I felt like doing, and then the rest of the time I just worked with Julie and we had a laugh.
Yeah.
Fixing
I mean,
data.
it sounds great.
Yeah, it was good.
There's something about in-house is hard.
I was going to say, we brought Julie in for a job at one of the charities that I worked for, and Julie was like, it's too hard. She was like, this situation, not fixable.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Sometimes it gets to that, and it's usually the people, not the data, I'm afraid to say.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
I mean, culture is 9/10 of it, isn't it?
Oh, yes, so true. So you had not maybe what a linear path of what a lot of people would have said to kind of leadership, but actually you've taken so much experience and incredible knowledge from each of those places that you've been to in your current role.
Absolutely. I think being a fundraiser has really helped me see things from their point of view. They're one of our biggest internal clients. They're one of the most demanding internal clients. Love you, fundraising. But, you know...
We just need to know.
We just want all the data all the time. We want to tell everybody about our fundraising.
We also want to know what you're doing and not be like, oh, tomorrow we're going to put on this massive event. Sorry.
Yeah, fair feedback.
Planning schmanning.
Yeah. But you got passion and excitement, and I love that. But I think like having that view of fundraising kind of pushes a bit of urgency, because actually sometimes internally people are like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter if we raise funds, you know, we just want to spend the money, and like maybe they're not connecting it, and so
You're like, you have a job because of fundraising.
Yeah, so I'm like in a unique role where I'm outside of fundraising, but I could say, look, you know, you're not going to get a pay rise unless, you know, fundraising bring in this, so we need to support them to bring in this.
Yeah, definitely.
So I quite like, you know, being on the side of fundraising but not being a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask if you, like, so it sounds like where you are now in particular, it's a really supportive place around development and promoting people and really championing that. But it's not that way everywhere. And so if somebody is like, at any point in their career, whether they're just starting out or they are a manager looking to go into a leadership position, what is like the top 3 things you would say for them to like focus on or look at, or like what would be your advice that you would give them?
Oh, great question. So I'm going to talk whilst I think. I think the number one thing is about taking accountability, and that sets aside the, you know, people who have like huge potential in leadership, not necessarily manager, but who could be huge leaders, but taking accountability. So we talk about accountability loads within the team. My manager's hot on accountability and feedback, talk about feedback loads. I think that getting feedback on your performance, your behaviours and your delivery, your team, whatever, I think like that is like the number one thing I wish I started doing sooner. And it sucks to get feedback, and it's like horrible to hear that you're not 100% perfect all the time. And then learning to get over that ego. So that's
I
really
think
good.
learning to take feedback is such an underrated skill.
And a lot of people can't do it. A lot of people at senior levels can't do it.
No, they take it so personally.
So they get really pissy. And you're like, I actually am giving you this feedback because I want us to have a great relationship, and I want us to invest in having a great relationship.
But
And it's not personal, it's work.
It's fundamentally.
Yes, I feel like that's
it's not personal,
right
it's
there.
work.
It's not personal. It's not.
Like, I think
work,
that's like the quote.
That's it.
And that's like, I could hear my manager's, like, that's what he says, which is why he encourages so much feedback. And, you know, I remember like a month in, I had my one-to-one, so I was, well, maybe not a month, a few months in, I was kind of mid-probation, and I hadn't delivered on some of my fairly easy objectives. It was, you know, delivering some training or whatever. And he was just like, you're getting paid loads, why haven't you done this? And for some people, they'd like cry or think that's awful. And actually I was like, oh my God, thank you for just like snapping me out of it. I hadn't done it because I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll do it the right way. I don't know. And like all of that dithering meant I hadn't done it. Like I hadn't done anything. And so it really helped for him to be like, I told you he's an accountant. He's like,
he's like, get the stuff.
You're getting money and you're not doing it. And I was like, I'll hop to it. And I did.
But there is something about like the dithering. I was literally having a conversation the other day where I was explaining that the dithering of not making a decision or not doing an action was actually worse than just not doing it. Like, because not only are you not doing it, you're spending the brain space that you could be doing something else on worrying about the thing that you aren't doing. So
that's blown my mind.
like, it's worse to dither.
It is worth to dither. I dither all the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't dither. I dither, but it is worse.
I think the results are like worse than I'm not really explaining myself properly. Like you dither because you're worried that you're not going to make the right decision, and then it's
that's
like
the worst thing.
Sometimes it doesn't matter.
Team, like it is one of those things that like, and my teams have always given me this feedback, which was like, we just need you to make a decision. We just need you to set the strategy. set the road that we are going down, tell us what good looks like, tell us what we need to achieve, and we will go out and do that for you. But without you doing that, we don't know where we're going. And actually, you dithering is a significant issue for us.
Yeah, because you go from like you not doing anything to your whole team, which
Yeah.
could be a huge amount of people not doing anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so important.
So how do you build confidence in that? Like, how have you personally been like, okay,
Yeah.
I know that this is the right direction to start my team?
I think it's taking that risk. So I'm gonna say it. So we had our staff awards today, and I won
Yes,
the
I'm
most,
so glad you're gonna say
most
this.
inspiring leader award. Which, seeing as I organised the awards, it seemed like a total fix, but it really wasn't.
Genuine winner.
Yeah, genuine winner. And one of the comments.
I would have voted for you.
Thank you, Sian.
Just to be clear.
One of the comments was that I make strong decisions, and I really like that because it wasn't like I make right decisions,
No.
or quick decisions or whatever. It was like I make strong decisions, and I think that sometimes that's what's needed, just a decision, and being
yeah.
able to like respond. So sometimes the decision isn't set in stone, so you
Yeah.
don't have to say we're going to go this way and that's it, or that's the end of it. I won't hear any more about it.
Yeah.
Usually it's like try it like this, and then tell me in a week, did that work? If
Yeah.
not, let's try something else.
Yeah, fail fast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right,
we're
like
talking
try
about
this,
failing
and
fast.
if it doesn't work, let's change it.
Yes.
Why didn't it work? Let's change it.
Yeah, learn, move on.
Oh, I love it.
And I think that was, I came in to manage our CRM implementation, which was about 5-6 months post
You
go
moved to
live.
Dynamics?
We moved to Dynamics, yeah, and it was, it went over budget, went over time. There wasn't
Show me a CRM
I was gonna say.
implementation that didn't happen.
Yeah.
exactly, but there wasn't like a huge amount of internal buy-in when I joined. There was still a load of, oh my god, the old system was better. So like that's a really hard place to come into. You'll be pleased to know, turned it around, won the Charity Governance Award for
yes,
digital
you
transformation, and a few other recognitions. So, but it's a really hard environment to come in. And actually, what people need to see you doing is make some decisions. And
Yeah.
like they may not be the best decisions or the right decisions, but you need to like, hate the phrase, low-hanging fruit. You need to like go for those quick wins and just be seen to make decisions to win the trust of people, I
Yeah.
think, sometimes.
I think
And-
that. Oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Here you go.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think that's such an important, thing to remember, because it's so easy to forget how you're perceived, right? When you're trying to make that step up,
Yes.
your personal brand, your perception, how
We saying
people.
how much we hate the phrase personal brand, but
brand,
actually there is some truth
Yeah,
to the
how you're
idea of
perceived.
personal
Yeah,
brand.
but how you're perceived internally, your diplomacy of how you deal with things, or how you're seen to, present yourself. Because I forgot the word that we just came up with that you
comport.
how you comport yourself is really, really critical. Like, it's one of the most important things, because if you act that way, people will perceive you as a leader,
Yeah.
and therefore they will trust you with a promotion.
Yeah, I definitely think that's right, but I just want to unpick it because like, is what people perceive to be a leader the right thing?
Sometimes.
Yeah, but also think sometimes not.
Yeah, I think that sometimes what people think is a leader is not necessarily the best thing, right? So it could be, I'm seen to be working 24 hours a day,
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
the
yeah,
last
no,
one
I
to
don't
leave
think
the
that's
office.
No, that
like-
kind of thing. And people often get confused, right? Because
Yes.
they think that that's being a good leader, or delivering all the work themselves really well is a good leader.
Yes.
Ringing their team at 9 p.m, asking.
I think that's a bad leader.
Yeah,
like
but some
was,
people genuinely think that's what they should be doing.
No, I know.
What people perceive as a good leader, I don't know. Like, I think it depends. Maybe there's different levels. So like a trustee will perceive a good leader as just someone who delivers.
Yeah.
But I think that like people know what a good leader is, like almost like instinctively.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I think when I was talking about perception, I meant it more from the perspective of people who have confidence in you.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't mean that you work all hours. And if we think back to an episode where we talked about insecurities, it's not necessarily about being that confident all of the time. It's okay to be insecure in that space, but actually it's about how you, if you're ready to make that step, how you take ownership of it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the
And-
point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and actually, I think I'm going to speak for you here.
Go ahead.
But something that I think you do really well, and like I really loved when I worked with you, but like I've kind of seen you grow outside of us working together, is that you've owned that leadership role yourself, and you've kind of been like, these are the things that, yes, I think other people are good at, but you've gone out and owned that leadership role, and you've been like, this is what it looks like for Sarina
Yeah.
in a leadership role. And I just love that about you.
I think you got to know yourself a bit, right? And
Yeah.
I think I've done enough work to kind of understand what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, where I excel, what people like about me, what people don't like about me. Getting rid of that ego is the biggest thing. I
Yeah.
think that it helps with a load of stuff, but when it comes to the workplace, like my ego is so small. Like that, they always say that like when there's like praise, leaders are at the back, right? And when there's like failure or whatever, leaders are at the front.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of summarizes getting rid of that ego. And
Yeah.
I really struggle because like I'm a fundraiser and we are by
You always have the
nature egotistical.
yeah.
Well, we like to win.
We do like to
You're
win.
competitive, yeah.
And so then when you take that like competitiveness into a leadership space, it's really tricky.
Yeah, but I think that you could be like competitive or whatever, and a leader. If you're leading a team, you want your team to be the best.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you could be an excellent leader with those characteristics.
Yeah.
It's just not centering yourself as an individual. And you're responsible for your team's wins,
Yeah,
totally.
yes.
And you could be responsible for other teams' wins if that's what you want to say. So you could just be like,
You're like, I will
responsible
own
for all
all
of
of
it.
this.
Yeah.
And you were a judge on some awards recently?
Yeah, so it's the Institute of Fundraising Insight Special Interest Group. I was a judge
amazing.
for their awards this year, which is really nice. I took part in a panel last year on CRMs for them, so it was quite nice to be asked back to be a judge and saw some people who I haven't worked with for a long time. And yeah.
And what were you looking for in that space? So like when you're judging and you're kind of saying that this is what we like recognise as excellence, like what are you looking
So
for?
I was the voice of the small charity, and I had a chat with Julie beforehand, and because
Nice.
she's always like putting pressure on the IOF, and she's like, you got to remember that small charities don't have the budget, don't have the resource,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're the ones in most need of some of these accolades, some of this support.
Yes.
So a lot of our clients are small charities, and when I say small charities, I mean like 0 to 1.5 kind of
Okay, so
full-time
like
staff.
small.
Yeah.
Really small. And so I was really like pushing for the small charities. I was, representing the small guys. Because I think that if a massive national charity who are a top 10 in fundraising charity have done this amazing marketing campaign, and they've used like AI or something really amazing, I think that's fab, and we could all learn from that. But like if a very small charity has, decided to prioritize insight and using data to inform their fundraising decisions, and maybe it's stuff that like a bigger charity would be like, oh, we did that years ago, that's nothing. I think that's like phenomenal, and it could lead to them doubling their income, but to like be bold enough to be like, we're going to invest in insight. So that's what I was looking for.
That's incredible. So we had a conversation recently about hiring managers not knowing what they're looking for. And a lot of times hiring managers get really stuck on like, have you worked for a name brand organization? And actually that the fundraisers that have worked for smaller organizations are like a million times scrappier, more innovative, do more with less, jack of all trades, like really bring a totally different dynamic. And the ability to ask for a £5,000 gift or a £1 million gift is the same skill set.
Yeah.
Because in some organizations, a £5,000 gift from a major donor might be the biggest major donor gift they've ever had.
And it could change the trajectory of their organisation, genuinely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what sometimes hiring managers forget.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that fundraisers have to learn how to articulate when they're going for these step changes in roles.
Yeah.
Because the shift from line managing somebody to line managing a team to showing an impact
Yeah.
through a team and that like line management, that's very hard to articulate often.
So I know for me personally, I just feel so passionate about stewardship. Like I've got like a really weird obsession. Like it's probably not that weird. Stewardship's really important in the fundraising sector.
It is intense.
It is intense, but
It was part of your Hinge profile.
It was part of my.
In the
How was
first
it part?
ep-
How?
In the first
In the first
episode.
episode, we joked about it being Hinge.
Also, you're married.
Yeah, Serena was like, I have known Rich since Sean was like, because I got married while I was at Ryder.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was
yeah,
like
sorry,
a
not a
weird
real
way
thing.
of telling me you've separated.
No.
You brought me on your
God,
podcast.
no. I thought I'd put you on my
We're on a
podcast
break.
and tell you me and Rich are broken up.
Yeah.
me
No,
and
not
Rich are-
not a
Rich,
real,
don't leave me.
Don't leave Sean.
not a real Hinge profile.
Okay, I get it.
Our work.
Thank you for
Hinge
clarifying.
profile. But I love stewardship. Like I feel so passionate about good stewardship. And actually, like one of the things that I found really hard taking that step from manager to leader is not having control over stewardship. Because it is something I know I do really well. It's something that I know I bring a lot of experience to.
Yeah.
And I have like enough self-awareness to be like, this is something I am actually particularly good at.
Yeah.
And trusting that to other people and trusting that I have coached and taught my team well enough that they will go out and deliver stewardship is really freaking hard for me.
Yeah.
Because I always want to be like, but can I proof it?
Yeah.
Can I see the emails? But who are the emails? And I'm like, no, I actually don't need to know those things. I need to trust that I have taught you well enough that you've done this well. But that in particular for me is a really hard thing to let go.
But that goes into delegation, right? And as like being a good leader is also the power to delegate and trust your team. And I think that can be really hard
Yeah.
to let go of.
And it could be super hard. And I think that some people perhaps step into leadership maybe a bit too soon, or because they're super good at stewardship, let's say, or running a campaign, and it isn't just like running the best campaign you ever had.
Yeah.
Like that's not being a leader. It's supporting your team to deliver the best campaign or to deliver the best stewardship
so
journey.
true.
Yeah.
And I think that is like a super humbling moment to realise that actually it's incredibly disempowering for you as a head or a leader or whatever to be like, yes, we raised £1.5 million, smash this Christmas appeal.
Yeah.
Be like, you did it all and your team didn't do it all and they're really disempowered. They've been micromanaged. It's like, it just, they're disengaged. It's not great.
How did people feel when they left a conversation with you or a meeting with you? Like, what's that? Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Kind of. So I think we're kind of wrapping to the end of our time.
Unfortunately,
But I
this
really
has been such a great conversation.
I also
Lovely
just
talking
think,
to you.
like, it
So
just
was it as
genuinely feels like
scary?
you and me went out for lunch. So.
Yeah. Great.
Was it as scary as you thought it was going to be?
No, it was a lot less scary.
See, we're nice.
My fear was that halfway through, you'd be like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know what she's talking about at all. But, it's something I'm excited and passionate about, so I could,
So, Sarina, that's like a perfect thing to just, before we wrap, what's the one thing that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I think that the one thing is that it's all about shrinking that ego. And I think, taking accountability for things, not putting yourself in the center, being able to delegate to your team, trust in your team, but that all begins with you decentering yourself. And I think, that's the kind of biggest thing from our conversation.
That's amazing.
I love that. I genuinely need reminding of that.
Yeah, I think
Very
everybody
hard to
does.
fundraiser.
I think everybody does.
But we're really egocentric as fundraisers sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true.
We ask for money as a living. Like, we're pretty...
We ask for money for a good feeling.
Yes.
I think that's fundamentally the truth.
Yeah.
A huge impact. We are, all about helping people achieve their philanthropic goals, however big or small they might be. But ultimately, we sell a really good feeling.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming
You're
on.
welcome. Thanks for having me.
Loved having you on. And like I said, like, you and me genuinely hang out outside of work.
Yeah.
So this has been really nice for me to kind of like bring this onto the couch. So thank you so much. So thank you so much for everyone for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you can, please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps us reach more people in the sector, and we really want to bring more people on this journey with us. You can find us on our website, which is thisisraise.com, or on Instagram at Raise Charity Pod.
Yes, on Instagram, not TikTok. Really important comment. But thank you so much for being here,
Yeah,
Sarina.
thank
So
you,
let's do one
Sarina.
final cheers. So we're raising,
Oh, much
very important.
less full wine
We're
glasses.
raising money, voices, and glasses. So cheers. Cheers.
Oh, you guys gonna reach?
reach.
Oh, look, you did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Cool. Should we do